hails from this constituency as well. He was raised in this constituency. He went to school at St. Matthias as well. He played basketball for the Senators and cricket for the Wanderers Cricket Club. He was a past branch secretary, and I dare say that his DNA is well rooted in Christchurch West. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Mervin Kellman.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a pleasure for me to be here speaking at the home of the Index representative of Christchurch West. Tonight, in the little time that I have, I want you to join me on a little journey. Let us harken back to a time not so long ago when I could stand here before you and say with justification and pride that we are the citizens of one of the greatest small island nations on the face of the earth. I would have said to you then that all our needs were not met, that our lives were not without daily challenges, but most of us led decent lives. We took hold of the opportunities that were available to us to improve our standard of living. And we had very good reason to look forward to our future and the future of our offspring. We lived in a time when Bajans dared to dream. We believed in ourselves and we had confidence in our government. If we look back at a few core areas which impacted upon the ordinary working class Bajan, we will find 10 years ago, we had an average of 230 buses on the road each day. If we managed our time well, we would generally reach our destination and back safely and satisfactorily. Those same buses traveled on roads, on a road network, which, to be honest, demanded constant maintenance. But the authorities paid attention to the breaches in the road, and repairs were carried out as quickly as possible to ensure the safety of commuters and reduce the likelihood of damage to vehicles. Or garbage. Garbage collection was an issue from time to time, we cannot deny that. But generally it was never allowed to reach a stage which threatened the health of our people or endanger the environment. Household garbage was collected roughly, I'd say, twice a week in most districts. Let us look at healthcare. Barbados was at the forefront in the Caribbean when it came to looking after the health of its citizens. Our polytechnic worked well and eased the burden of the QAH. The drug service provided free, high-quality medication for our children and our elderly. That is one of the reasons why we have so many centenarians in this country. Barbados led the way in terms of AIDS and HIV awareness, not only on the streets, but in the workplace. Housing. Affordable housing was a priority of our government. Low interest funding was made available through the Housing Credit Fund, the Public Workers Loan Scheme, and the Barbados Mortgage Finance, all of which were established under the Barbados Labour Party. This small island was well on its way to ensuring that where possible, the majority of our households had waterborne facilities. The Urban and Rural Development Commissions were set up by the Barbados Labour Party to oversee this mandate. Now, I drew those few examples of what we had and where we were to simply remind you of how government in the past took care of this country and how our nation, despite our size, in spite of our lack of natural resources, had punched mightily above its weight and gained the respect of the wider world. The title, Gem of the Caribbean, was not achieved by happenstance. It was earned on the backs of our foreparents. It was maintained through the vision of our leaders, and it is rooted in the pride and industry of our people. Fast forward now to 2008 and into the present time. Note how quickly times have changed, how quickly we've declined from being a proud and respected nation to become what I call a survival society, where people now exist by instinct and struggle to hold on to their values. Yes, the struggle. The struggle not just to maintain the simplest lifestyle, but to keep hold of those things, those assets that they work so hard to achieve. We have come to a state in this country where we can no longer place our burden at the feet of the government. Because if we do, let me tell you, no one is coming to save us. In 10 years, the Democratic Labour Party has ravaged this country. After their 2 bites of the Biden cherry, not much is left for us to share. We only see this type of damage to a country when it is ruled by a despot or when it is visited by natural disaster. Look around. Hundreds stranded in the bus terminal a couple of nights ago. From 230 buses when they took office, now to 63 buses to service the entire island. No running water in the southeast and the eastern sides of the island for days, maybe even weeks. Sewage flowing in the street. The youngsters spoke about that. I'm sure that others will speak about it later on. The roads fleeced with potholes. It is really a litany of woe. How did we get here? How did Barbados reach this stage? Because if it holds true that the core function of a government is to promote the general welfare of its people, well then, my friends, let me tell you, the Democratic Labour Party has failed us. They have let us down. We have seen crisis after crisis, downgrade after downgrade after downgrade, protest after protest. We have witnessed a failed long-term fiscal plan, a failed short-term scheme, a failed medium-term economic approach. And I hear now that there's a rescue plan in the works. I call it the RH plan. We must ensure that this plan does not see the light of day, because our plan must be to kick them out. They have fed us a ration of lies and betrayal. They have not kept their word. No layoffs, they said, yet over 3,000 people sent home, many of whom today have not received compensation for their hard year's work. They promised not to interfere with the tuition fees at UE. They betrayed us again. I know of a mother and son in this very constituency who had hoped to graduate together last year. But that dream was curtailed because of the introduction of those fees. Sadly, the mother, broken-hearted, I believe, she passed away. If memory serves correct, I'm sure that I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, the value-added tax increase from 15% to 70.5% was only to be in place for a period of 18 months, commencing 1st December 2015. That, my friends, is another lie. Not only has it remained in place, now going on 3 years, but it has been given a punishing accomplice called the NSRL, killing our businesses, killing what is left of our manufacturing, dampening the entrepreneurial spirit and the creative spirit of our people, all the while making it difficult for Barbadians to put a proper meal on the table because it drives up the cost of food. Tell me, is that looking after your welfare? I challenge you to tell me what the Dems have done in 2 terms that has had a positive impact on your lives. I want someone to tell me of a piece of legislation, maybe you, William, that they have taken to Parliament that makes Barbados a better place to work and live. Think on it. And I'm sure that you'll reach the same conclusion that I have. None. They have squatted in our lower house. We must kick them out. The Democratic Labour Party gave us Errol Walton Barrow, even though he emerged from within the bosom of the Barbados Labour Party. He was indeed a transformational and inspiring leader. His reign is glorified in Barbados even today. But what have they put on the table in terms of leadership since then? Sir Lloyd struggled with the task and was largely ousted from within his own ranks. It was a mutiny of sorts. The jury is still out on Thompson's brief and somewhat shady tenure. But one thing I can tell you, history will not treat him well. Mr. Stewart sets himself aloft from the people. He is at the helm when our country faces perhaps the most inert and troubling period since we gained independence. Yet he ignores our calls and cries and speaks only to tourists. He dismisses our complaints as transitory. But I'll tell you tonight, he is without doubt the destroyer-in-chief of this country. Barbados will only slip further into the abyss if he is allowed to remain a resident of Illawarra Court. The economists say, I'm sure you heard it, that we are approaching duck's gut. The IMF hovers like a drone over our space. But I bring you good news tonight. All of us who address you from this podium represents a covenant of hope. A pledge to you that if you place your trust in the Barbados Labour Party and work with us, through shared sacrifice, collective creativity, and total commitment, we will restore this country. If you truly love this island, if you are true to yourselves, your choice is crystal clear. Christchurch West will return to you a man of whom we are justly proud, a man from among us, a man who has done well by us. Dr. William Dugard is our man. I want everybody within the hearing of my voice to follow our lead, follow the lead of Christchurch West. Vote for all the candidates from the party of my grandmother and my mother. Vote for the men and women who stand ready to roll up their sleeves and get down to work in your service. Vote for the oldest, greatest, and grandest political party in the English-speaking Caribbean. Vote for the Barbados Labour Party. I thank you all, and good night.